think the camera's okay. Better. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Angel Two One Love. They're bringing you another episode of Sports Overview Topics. A lot to go over today on the podcast. It's been a good week as far as sports go. We had NCAA football. We had the NFL week 3. Go over that. Had UFC 253. We got the NBA Finals set. Go over all that. Also, the MLB playoffs start today, so bunch to go over. But first thing I want to go over is congrats to the Tampa Bay Lightning of the NHL. They last night beat the Dallas Stars Game 6 2-0 and are the 2020 NHL Stanley Cup champions. Good on them. They've grinded on their way to the Stanley Cup. They outlasted, obviously, not only the Dallas Stars, but the New York Islanders. They had a tough road, but finally got it, and kudos to them. Now, if you're a Tampa Bay sports fan, things are going to be looking up because you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers doing well. You got the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, who are pretty much a dark horse in the MLB playoffs this year. You got them. Definitely things are looking up if you're, or at least got to be excited if you're a Tampa Bay sports fan. So there's that. Second of all, now a little bit of speaking of the MLB playoffs or the MLB. Kansas City Royals, longtime legend, Alex Gordon has called it a career in the MLB. Tired after 14 years, or at the age of 36. He won the World Series with the Kansas City Royals in 2015 against the New York Mets, winning them their first World Series in a long time. But kudos to him, as well as Hunter Pence, former longtime San Francisco Giant. They both called it a career. Hats off to him. Pence won 2 World Series with the San Francisco Giants. Bounced around for a couple teams, the Phillies, back to Giants. But yeah, both of them called it a career. Hats off to them. Now, going from that, transitioning to UFC 253 happened on Saturday. So, headlined by 2 title fights, Israel Adesanya defends against Paulo Costa, combined 32-0 record, and 0 has to go, presumably, unless there's a draw, which is rare in UFC title fight. Also, the co-main event was crowning of a new light heavyweight champion after John Jones vacated the title after a long reign. First time in 9 years, a champion at 205 not named Daniel Cormier or John Jones. So Now we're gonna talk about that co-main event. So Jan Blachowicz, the Polish power prevailed over Dominic Reyes, knocking out him. Basically, Dominic Reyes was on the attack. Blachowicz back was up against the fence, landing a nice 1-2 combination. Buckled Reyes, did the chicken walk a little, but Blachowicz followed up and finished Reyes, ultimately be crowned the new UFC lightweight champion at age 37. Looks good as ever. I mean, when he first came to the UFC, his first fight was against Alexander Gustafsson, and he lost in a decision. So he's been, ever since, he's fought the upper echelon of talent at UFC 205 division. Obviously, he's knocked out Luke Rockhold. He beat Jacare, both decisively their come ups to the 205-pound division. And then he beat avenged the loss to Jimmy Manuwa. So now he said, because Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira both have, or they have presumably a number one contenders bout next month on November 7th. And I would assume the winner of that is likely going to be the first shot at Jan Blachowicz. Now, Jan said in his post-fight interview that he would like, or post-fight press conference, that he would like to get a rematch with Thiago Santos because Santos finished him in their first fight, and he would love to avenge the loss. So Jan will definitely be keeping an eye on that fight. Then we got to the main event. So Adesanya versus Paul Costa, two undefeated prime commodities in the middleweight division. You got the technique, you got the quickness, the striking ability of Adesanya, and then on the other side, you got the power and the volume of Paulo Costa. How was it going to go? Well, I picked the right winner, but the outcome caught me a little off guard. In the second round, Adesanya, he landed a nice right hook on the temple of Paulo Costa, finished them up with strikes, and basically insult to injury. He humped him after or right before the referee got him off. Yeah, so there has been bad blood. Well, people are wondering because there was bad blood going into this fight. And there were talks around that they were cool in real life. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. However, that is just insult to injury. But Adesanya moves to 20-0. I tell you, is just, I've been on the Adesanya train from the get-go. in the UFC. Um, it doesn't matter against Vittori, against Brunson, against Romero, against Whitaker, against Gastelum. I just had this feeling. I mean, Adesanya, he's just striking the way he handles himself. He's funny. He's got personality. He's just got this aura about him that he's just something. The last Stylebender just got it. And then Paulo Costa. I mean, this was a highly anticipated fight. You knew these two were on a collision course ever since they popped up in the 185-pound division. You just didn't win. You didn't know how. And it happened. And Adesanya got the better end of this first fight. But I have a feeling it depends on what I'm about to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if these two go at it again. Now, what I'm going to say is different because, this isn't the first guy with a big physique in the 185-pound division that we've seen. Paulo Costa. We've seen Luke Rockhold. We've seen Chris Weidman. These guys with big physiques, guys that can be at 205 if they wanted. However, now what I mean by that is, yes, Paulo Costa, this was his first loss, but see, Darren Till, he lost one. Of course, he should have already been at 185 pounds, but he was training himself at 170. Now, Paulo Costa, he has that big physique. So, I just think that, and they said he was cutting around 30 plus pounds for this fight. Now, that is a lot. And I just got this feeling, as he gets older, I would think that the wise move, because he's only 29, but as you get older, you guys start to treat your body a little better. And I just think with that big physique, probably wise. Yoel Romero, he's a freak. And he is somehow able, at his age, to stay at 185. I don't know how, but he just does it. Now, Paulo Costa, I wonder, how would he be at 205? That is the question. Because, I mentioned Rockhold. Well, Rockhold, he was at 205 against Jan, and, he did look full, he did look lively, he did look refreshed. However, Jan was just a more stronger athlete, and Rockhold got knocked out. I just think it'd be wise for Paulo Costa, if you're cutting 30 plus pounds to make 185, it's probably wise if you move up to 205. Just a thought. But nonetheless, good for Adesanya. He has plenty of options. I mean, he talked about John Jones. He said the options are open. He said, I mean, maybe a title unification bout down the line. I mean, Jack Hermanson is going to fight Darren Till. Robert Whitaker is going to fight Jared Cannonier at UFC 254. So, bunch of options for Adesanya for his next fight. So, go from that to NCAA football this week. We had some upsets. Woo! We had a shakeup, definitely a shakeup in the NCAA rankings for football. But going over scores, so Florida, they took care of business. They're still at number 3. They defeated Mississippi 51-35. Kansas State, they upset Oklahoma, who was in the top 5, dropping Oklahoma to number 16. They won 38-35 over the weekend. Then we got Auburn, who is number 7, defeated Kentucky 28-13. Texas survived Texas Tech, still in the top 10. However, in overtime, they won 63-56. Mississippi State, they upset LSU, who's in the top 10, I believe number 6, defeat them 44-34, dropping them to number 20, and Mississippi State got awarded to number 16. Georgia State is number 4. They defeated Arkansas 37-10 over the weekend. Alabama took care of business against Missouri, winning 38-19. They're number 2 behind Clemson. And Miami, the Hurricanes, so far off to a good start. They defeated Florida State 52-10. I mean, so far the college football season is going good. Obviously, the Pac-12 is going to return in November, but so far so good. College football is back, along with the NFL is back. So good as far as sports are concerned. So transitioning from college football to the NBA, as we found out that it's going to be the Miami Heat who took care of the Boston Celtics in Game 6 to represent the Eastern Conference against the Los Angeles Lakers, winners of the Western Conference. It is gonna be a very interesting series. Why? Because the Miami Heat, I had them as my sleeper team in the playoffs ever since the playoffs started. And they are loaded. They got Jimmy Buckets. They got Jimmy Butler. They got Goran Dragic. They got Bam Adebayo. They got Tyler Hero, who's a young phenom in his own right. You got Iguodala, who's keeping that streak alive of the last 10 NBA Finals as include either the Heat or Iguodala. Now, both the Heat and Iguodala will be in this NBA Final. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. But yeah, they know how to shoot, and you can't underestimate them because they upset the Milwaukee Bucks. They took care of the Boston Celtics. I mean, they are currently 12-3 in these playoffs currently. I mean, they swept Indiana, who's a good team in their own right. They took 5 because of when Giannis went down, Chris Middleton played out of his mind. And then Boston is Boston. They are a really good team. They're a young team. They're going to be back. But yeah, the Heat. And of course, the Lakers. I mean, you got LeBron, you got Anthony Davis, you got Kyle Kuzma, you got Danny Green. I mean, you got Pope, you got Dwight Howard. I mean, they got size, definitely. The question will be for the Lakers going in this series is who is going to step up besides Anthony Davis and LeBron? That has been the question throughout these playoffs. And can they get consistently for 4 full games? I would not be surprised if this goes 7 games. I would not. Because I think the Heat are that damn good. See, Kobe's death has definitely lit a fire under the Lakers and LeBron to do this for him. And obviously the pandemic and the delay of the season helped and hurt, obviously, teams like the Lakers. Why? Because, well, the Lakers had all this momentum, and they were the number 1 seed. Still the number 1 seed, come back, but obviously they get the rest. Obviously, Avery Bradley opted out. However, the Lakers have kept it together, beat the Trailblazers, who some were documenting like, oh, they could upset the Lakers. They took care of business there. Oh, the Rockets are a good shooting team. They took care of business there. Oh, the Nuggets are fun, and they took care of this loaded Clippers team. Oh, they took care of business there. I just have this gut feeling the Lakers will do it for Kobe, complete the story. LeBron will get his 4th title. I got Lakers in 6. Lakers in 6 against Miami Heat. That's my early prediction. That's my prediction. Lakers in 6 against the Miami Heat. Speaking of Clippers as well, Doc Rivers and the Clippers have parted ways after 7 seasons. The Clippers underwhelmed, you can say, but should they have really gotten rid of Doc Rivers, or should they maybe not and probably gotten rid of Paul George is the question. Well, I mean, they got rid of all this. They basically foregone their future and many draft picks to get Paul George from OKC to join Kawhi Leonard. And he thought, okay, they got Lou Williams, they got Montrezl Harrell, they got Patrick Beverley. I mean, Marcus Morris. Okay, this looks like, okay, this is a really loaded team. They can probably take it. And many media members were touting it. However, I had this feeling that the Nuggets were ultimately going to beat the Clippers, and that's what they did. So, good. I don't know. Doc Rivers, good coach. Maybe they hyped him up a little too much. Because, I mean, Doc Rivers, good coach. He helped lead the Celtics to their title for the first time in a long time in 2008. However, look, the NBA is a players' league. So coaches, yes, you want to keep on to them because, I mean, especially a reliable coach like Doc Rivers. But he was the scapegoat this time. And I don't like that. We'll see where the Clippers go from here. Now we get into the NFL recap of week 3. And it was a fun week of NFL football. Starting with, there were a lot of stories surrounding this week in the NFL, and I'll go over all of them. So first, starting with Thursday Night Football, the Dolphins went to Jacksonville with a fourth of their stadium filled. They beat the Jags handedly, 31-13. Now, I had picked the Jags because I thought their momentum, they were just rolling on offense, and I know what to think of the Dolphins. I mean, yes, they played both the Patriots and the Bills tough. I mean, they lost by a touchdown to the Patriots. They lost by 3 to the Bills, but I just didn't know what to think of them. And I picked the Jags to win. My bad. Fitzmagic, I'm sorry. The beard took against the mustache. And Ryan Fitzpatrick played out of his mind. And the Dolphins, I mean, they have a young roster. They can ultimately compete for a wild card spot in the AFC if things fall their way, because they got some good pieces. They got a quality roster. So, but yeah, down the stretch, if they can just pull it together, because their last month of the season is horrible. But if they can pull it together, they can maybe play playoff football in January. Next, we had probably the game of the week, one of the best games of the week, definitely. The Titans beat the Vikings 31-30. Now, first of all, Tennessee and Minnesota. I mean, first of all, from Tennessee side, first off, good for Stephen Gostkowski with the way he started on Monday night, week 1, against the Broncos, missing 4 kicks, ultimately made the game winner. And then last week he made all but one extra point against the Jags. I mean, and then this week they scored 31 against the Vikings. They're 3-0. The Titans, their offense, I like their offense. I mean, Ryan Tannehill is what you want Josh Rosen to be. What I mean by that is Josh Rosen hasn't got a fair share in the NFL ever since he's been drafted. Ryan Tannehill, I mean, he has a solid line. Derrick Henry behind him running the football. Have a solid wide receiver core. They have pieces on defense. Their Achilles heel, however, is still their defense. I mean, yes, they got Clowney. Yes, they got Vic Beasley to cover the pass rush. And they got Kevin Byard. They got Kenny Vaccaro at safety. However, they lost Logan Ryan. Adoree Jackson is banged up. I mean, their Achilles heel is going to be their defense, but their offense will keep them in games. So, kudos to them. And Mike Vrabel. Now, getting into the Vikings. The Vikings, I mean, yes, they're on 3, but see, they were competitive against the Packers, although they fell down a little quick. But their offense kept them in. Their defense failed them. Now, obviously, against the Colts, they played uninspired. This week, they kind of took a step, I would say. Even though they lost, they kind of took a step because Justin Jefferson, boy, did he have a day. 7 catches for over 170 yards. That touchdown just was filthy. That was just, geez, but I mean, yeah. Cook, he had a good day. Cousins, he had a better day. I mean, it depends on how Danielle Hunter is back. I mean, Yannick Ngakoue, I think they can be a nice addition. He played well when Terrell Wong was hurt. Now, obviously, the question for Tennessee going forward is Terrell Wong. Another question for the Vikings would be, what is the health status of Danielle Hunter? And if they can get him back, that would definitely help their defense that has a young secondary, an unproven secondary. Um, and without Anthony Barr, they can definitely use another solid pass rusher. And Daniil Hunter being back, they're not as bad as the Jets. They're not as bad as the Jets and the Giants. Yes, they're on 3, but they're probably the best 0-3 team out there. That's what I'll say. Next up, we the Bills and defeat the Rams 35-32. The Bills, they went up 28-3. They had faltered that lead. They looked like the Falcons. They lost that lead. They were down 32-28, and then with 15 seconds left, thanks to a controversial, and I put the air quotes out there because some may agree, some may not. Thanks to that controversial pass interference, the Bills threw a touchdown late to Tyler Croft, won it 35-32. This was very solid. I mean, well, first of all, the Rams, they were driving the field. They had quality drives, but bonehead mistakes by the offense and Jared Goff faltered the momentum, and but still good for the Bills. Josh Allen, besides Russell Wilson, they are 1 and 2 for MVP candidates right now. Josh Allen and Russell Wilson. The Rams did what they needed to do to get back in it. Aaron Donald was just, he got better over time. He got stronger as the game went on. Their offense had their moments, but it was just the Bills that got away with it. Next up, we had the Bears defeating the Falcons 30-26. Now, the story of this is Nick Foles. He came in. Now, Trubisky, he played okay for the first 3 quarters. I mean, he threw a touchdown. He had a run. He had a nice run for 45 yards. He threw a touchdown, Jimmy Graham. However, the offense, it's just inconsistent. I mean, I know that, look, Trubisky, what I think some people fail to realize is Trubisky was starting that whole game against the Lions week 1. And for 3.5 quarters, they only scored 6 points. And then Trubisky pulled the rabbit out of the hat, scored 3 touchdowns, and won the game for him. This case, Foles, he came in. The offense looked better. He threw some solid passes and came back 3 touchdowns, and ultimately they won 30-26. The Falcons, I feel bad for them. I mean, last week against Dallas, they should have won. This week, they got ahead big again, and I just feel bad for Falcons. Maybe they need to fire Dan Quinn. Maybe they need to make some changes. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. After that, we had the Excuse me. Yeah. The Patriots defeated the Raiders 36-20. Now, for the first part, this game looked ugly. I mean, it was 13-10 for the Patriots, and then all of a sudden we started running. We got some turnovers. Their defense made some plays, and ultimately it was us winning. Rex Burkhead had a hell of a day, and the whole running game was just off the charts. Excuse me. With no David Andrews, Joe Tooney was at center. Now, Illuminor, who is replacing Marcus Cannon, he let up 2 sacks, and he's got to improve, but for the most part, their offense just ran away. And I mean, the Raiders are still 2-1. They got some good pieces, but the Patriots just ran away with it. Now, then we had the Browns defeated Washington 34-20. Now, there was good and there was bad for Washington. I mean, Haskins, he threw 2 touchdowns, but threw 3 picks. They looked like it was going to be competitive, and then Chase Young, have to see his health status, but he went out with a groin injury, and that defensive line wasn't the same. They couldn't get the same pressure on Baker Mayfield, and Nick Chubb and the running game just took them apart. And that's what they need to do. They need to ride Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, that running game. Baker Mayfield, that passing game needs to be second. Then, if they continue to do that, they'll be off the charts. For the first time in 6 years, the Browns have a winning record. For the first time in 6 years, since they were 7-6 in 2014. By the way, I mean, the Browns were 7-4 that season and lost their last 5 straight games. But kudos to them. They look to be in the right direction. If they continue this winning formula, they'll be dangerous, and they could definitely win their division. Next, we had the Steelers defeating the Texans 28-21. I mean, the Steelers, I had a feeling this was going to be a close game, but the Steelers would ultimately pull away. They need to protect Deshaun Watson in Houston. I mean, what? 3 Watts, JJ, Derek, and TJ were both all in this game. But I mean, the Texans, if they want to be competitive, they gotta help out Deshaun Watson. The Steelers look good, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Bryant is gone by Thanksgiving, both as GM and coach. That's what I think. Then we had a tie. Yes, a tie between the Bengals and the Eagles, 23-23. Now, the Bengals I had picked to win this game. The Bengals, they look good in some spots. Joe Burrow played well. they also need to protect him if they want to be competitive, if they're going to build their franchise around Joe Burrow. The Eagles are confusing. They're just confusing. I mean, yes, they had all these injuries, but Carson Wentz is being paid over $100 million. I'm just confused. They don't look like the Super Bowl winning team they did 3 years ago. That's what's confusing. Carson Wentz. See, with the Vikings, they're making improvements. With the Falcons, they're doing what they can on offense. With 0-3 teams. I'm just confused on the Eagles. I don't know what to say. And that division have nobody over 500. The Washington is leading that division at 1-2. 1-2. Now, things could change, but I mean, it's confusing because at first you think with how Washington and the Giants and Dallas, I'm just lost for words on the Eagles. I'm just going to move to the next game. Sorry. But Joe Burrow's good. That's the one thing Cincinnati has. And I like Jonah Williams. They got some talent on defense, and Joe Mixon. Their receiving core is good, but they need to protect Joe Burrow. That's all I'll say on that game. So then we had the Panthers. They defeat the Chargers 21-16. It was a hook and lateral play by the Chargers at the end of the game that if it was executed properly, they would have won. However, it wasn't, and the Panthers held on to win 21-16. Justin Herbert, he had some good moments, he had some bad moments. The Chargers, they just looked sloppy. They shot themselves in the foot. Justin Herbert will have growing pains, but I like the talent on this roster. If they can pull it together, they can definitely be a playoff team come January. But good for Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers. Without Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis, he did well for you fantasy owners. So there's that. Next, we had the 49ers, the injury-riddled 49ers, defeat the Giants 36-9. No Jimmy G, no Raheem Mostert or Tevin Coleman, no George Kittle, no Deebo Samuel. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk, who made some couple plays. Mohamed Sanu, he made a couple plays. Where was that last year in New England? But I mean, yeah, I mean, they lost Bosa, they lost not Buckner. Excuse me, who else? Solomon Thomas, there you go. But I mean, they still had Armstead. Yeah, they had Javon Kinlaw, Greenlaw, etc. They still had talent, but I mean, the Giants, they weren't competitive, which is frustrating when you're facing a team that's filled with backups. That's confusing. Now, the roster isn't bad as the Jets, but they look almost as bad as the Jets. Now, Joe Judge, it's his first year. Obviously, there's some learning. I'll give him that over Adam Gase because Adam Gase is a veteran head coach who is supposed to be an offense guru, but he has the Jets looking like abysmal. So, but good for the Niners. If they can withstand the storm for next few weeks, hopefully Kittle and Jimmy G, Debo, Sherman, D Ford, and these guys can be healthy, then we'll see. But that division is going to be tough. Just tough. So next we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeating the Broncos 28-10. I mean, you kind of figured this out. Tampa Bay, they look like they're coming into their own. I mean, week 1 against the Saints, they had questions about timing and continuity. Now, as we saw last week against Panthers, this week against Broncos, they look to be more in sync. And Tom Brady's getting more comfortable passing around to Shady, McCoy, passing around Gronk, Godwin, Scotty Miller, Mike Evans. He's passing the rock to everybody, getting them all involved. And that's what you like to see if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. For the Broncos, I mean, people had hopes that this would be a playoff team. I still had questions about the roster. Now, yes, no Drew Lock, no Courtland Sutton. Drew Lock isn't going to come back for a couple weeks. However, that roster, I mean, they have talent, but it's going to be difficult to weather a storm. However, thankfully, they have the Jets this Thursday. So we'll see. Next, we had the Seahawks outduel the Cowboys in a thriller. Russell Wilson, I mean, what more can you say? He's playing out of his mind right now. Another 5 touchdown day. Should have been 6. But yeah. Dak Prescott, he played well, but question to Mike McCarthy about not giving the rock to Zeke more, and they just went with the flow and kept it a shootout. And I mean, Russell Wilson for Dak Prescott, I'll take Russell Wilson 10 times out of 10. Dak, they kept interesting, but just the questions about not feeding it to Zeke is ultimately what killed the Cowboys' chances against the Seahawks. The Colts, they defeated the Jets 36-7. Expected. They blew them out. Sam Darnold's getting crushed. The Colts are doing well. They're doing better. They could be 3-0, but instead they're 2-1. Good on them. Jets are horrible, the worst team in the league, period. Next game. The Lions defeated the Cardinals in a bit of a shocker. I mean, you knew that the Lions were going to play up close. However, the Cardinals were 2-0. See, here's the thing. The Lions have all this talent, and they look like a playoff team in the bird's eye view. And if they can pull it together like they did on Sunday, they can definitely be a playoff team. But the word is if. But because they have talent, they just don't execute. However, good win for the Lions. Kyler Murray, it's only his second year. He's going to have some growing pains. I mean, they only lost by 3, and he threw 3 picks. So, but there's that. And for Sunday Night Football, it was a very solid game. What do you expect it to be? The Packers defeated the Saints 37-30. Now, the Saints played well. Drew Brees, he made some passes. Yes, passes. Even though Alvin Kamara was the MVP of the game for the Saints. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are just off to a great start. One more could say the Saints were sloppy. Again, with penalties. They need to be more disciplined. They did enough to win this game. However, they just were sloppy and penalties killed them. Mistakes, the Taysom Hill fumble didn't help him out. And I'll touch on the top story of the week in a little bit. But first, getting into the Chiefs and Ravens. Monday Night Football. This was a blowout. I don't care about the score. The Chiefs won 34-20. It was a blowout. Don't listen to the score. The Chiefs had it from the get-go. Well, apart from the opening drive, they just took it and they just ran with it. They did what they wanted to do to the Ravens. See, with the Ravens, they're accustomed to being in front. And behind, they just looked lost. I mean, they had a couple breaks, but still, it's just, I wonder if the offense coordinator and the right offensive system is put there for Lamar Jackson. That's the only thing I'm curious about. Now, touching on the top story of the NFL this week. Drew Brees' arm strained. It's ridiculous. I mean, he can't throw plus 5 yards. He can't throw over 20. I mean, this, that. His arm is shot. He's dead. He's not. It's ridiculous. So what I did was I looked back at highlights. So last year, Drew Brees, I looked at his highlights. I saw plenty of passes thrown over 20 yards. Plenty. But he can't throw down ball down the field. Well, I saw in the playoff game versus the Vikings. He had a couple throws downfield. Couple completions, 20 yards downfield. But wait, he's lost a set this year. So I look back at the highlights of the game versus the Buccaneers, where people thought, okay, he may have lost a set. Yes, he threw 160 pass yards. He threw a couple throws downfield, over 20 yards. And, oh, by the way, he threw a 40-yard completion. 40 yards. 4-0. That's 20 yards over 20 yards. People say he can't throw the ball past 20 yards. Well, so, So what can be the explanation? Is his arm dead? Or maybe, just maybe, it's not Drew Brees. Maybe it's his receivers. Maybe it's been the defense playing well to the Saints receivers. Maybe he's not giving a chance downfield. Well, you could say that. Maybe they're having a hard time getting open. Maybe there's that. They don't have Michael Thomas. Now, they face the Lions Sunday. And Michael Thomas is obvious about getting open. He had over 150 pass receptions while he was open last season. So maybe it's not true. Maybe it's the receivers of the Saints not getting open. There's my thoughts. But those who are quick to criticize Drew Brees, just Drew Brees, take a look in the mirror and look at all the variables. Because, okay, maybe he's supposed to throw a guy open. Well, okay, maybe it's the receivers that are having troubles. Deal with it. He had 288 yards. It doesn't matter. He still got 288 yards. He still passed the ball. So deal with it. Oh, yes, he's not throwing the ball downfield. Deal with it. Okay? He's a quarterback. He's supposed to throw the ball to receivers, to playmakers. Deal with it. He's 41. Can he catch a break? It's like, geez. I get it. He's not very active down the field. So what? His job is to throw the ball to receivers and playmakers. And there were plenty throws against the Packers where he threw intermediate throws. It's like, geez, calm down with the Drew Brees criticism. Calm down, okay? Jeez. So, after that, now get into my week 4 predictions. So, that was week 3. So, now get into week 4. So, okay. So, got the Broncos and the Jets Thursday. Jets are horrible. However, the Broncos, I think they have a better roster. So, therefore, I'm going to go with them 24-10. Broncos. Chargers, Bucks. Justin Herbert, okay, his third start. He's going to face the GOAT, Tom Brady, and a loaded Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. They're coming into their own. They're 4.5-point favorites. I think maybe it's a little generous, but I'm going with the Buccaneers to win 28-20. Browns going to Dallas to play the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, I mean, they've scored a lot the past 2 weeks. And the Browns, they look like they're coming to their own. I just think that the Browns and Nick Chubb, if they continue to ride that running game, they'll get it done. I'm going with Browns 33-26. Next up, got the Ravens against the Washington football team. The Ravens, 12.5-point favorites. I mean, they'll probably be pissed after what happened to them on Monday night. So I'm going to go for them in a good margin, 30-17 over the Washington football team. So next you have the Cardinals and Panthers. Okay, the Panthers got their first win. However, I think the Cardinals, they have 2 solid running backs, Cameron Drake and Chase Edmonds. I believe riding them, if they can ride them more, they can do well. And if Kyler Murray fixes the mistakes that he did last week, they can win this. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals to win in a more slowed down game to win 23-20 over the Panthers. Now, Colts and Bears. The Colts are 1.5-point favorites. Nick Foles, his first start as a Chicago Bear. Both teams are loaded. Um, hmm. I just think, well, I don't know. It's just like the Colts, I think, are coming into their own. Uh, Foles, I think, will keep them competitive. Well, yeah, I'll go with the Colts to win 30-27. Next, got the Saints and the Lions. Question is, will Michael Thomas be healthy for this game? With or without him, I still think the Saints win this. Um, I think Sean Payton and Drew Brees will probably make an emphasis about the penalties and try to calm it down. So I'm going with the Saints to win this over the Lions 28-24. Next, the Seahawks going to Miami to play the Dolphins. The Seahawks, Russell Wilson is just the Dolphins. If the Dolphins can play the way, because, well, what is the status of Jamal Williams? If Jamal Williams is not playing, I think the Dolphins can make this competitive. Either way, I'm going with Seattle to win 30-27. Vikings at Texans. Texans 4-point favorites, excuse me. 1-0 has got to go. And see, if Danielle Hunter is back, this is my score. I'm going with the Vikings to get their first victory of the season. 30-24 in Houston. Jaguars and Bengals. Gardner Minshew versus Joe Burrow. The Jaguars look lost without G.J. Chark, and they look confused. Now, the Bengals have worse defense than the Dolphins. However, they still have some pass rushers, and Joe Burrow, I think, is more motivated right now. They are more motivated, than the Jaguars. They're 2.5-point underdogs. I'm gonna go with the Bengals to win 26-24. Next up, we got the Steelers going to Tennessee to face the Titans. 2 3-0 teams, both solid on offense. The Steelers are better on defense. See, Derrick Henry hasn't been the best start for the season. However, Ryan Tannehill is picking up where he left off last year. And I just think they're riding a wave. If Derrick Henry can, because the Texans kind of slowed it down and kind of exposed some holes in Steelers defense because they kind of hold on until they have to make a play. So I think this will be a dogfight of a game. And I think the Titans can win it 21-7. No, wait, that's too low. 27-23. Titans over Steelers. Giants go to LA, Inglewood, the SoFi Stadium to play the Rams. Rams 9.5-point favorites. The Giants, they have some good spots and they have some bad spots. They have talent. The Rams, I think, will be pissed because they think they should have won that game against the Bills. So I'm going to go with the Rams to win this 30-21. No, wait. Spread is 9.5, so I'll go 30-17. Patriots and Chiefs. Jeez. I try to be unbiased. Now, the Patriots have faced Pat Mahomes 3 times. We beat them twice in shootouts 2018. Then last year we lost because of bonehead decision by a referee. I think we can win this game. Played right because of smacks. I'm going with the Patriots to win 34-30. Bills going to Vegas to play the Raiders. This is interesting. The Raiders, they want to be a physical team. And last week, they let the game get away from them against the Patriots. They played competitive for the first part of the game, but this time the Raiders faced the Bills. The Bills, Josh Allen is having a stellar start. I think the Raiders are so improving. But I think the Bills are ultimately going to win this 28-23. Sunday Night Football. Eagles going to Levi Stadium to play the Niners. As I've mentioned, I'm confused and frustrated with the Eagles. 49ers, question is who's going to be healthy? I think we're both asking the question about these teams this season. I think the Eagles right now are a lost puppy. And I trust the 49ers more. So right now I'm going with the Niners to win 26-21 over Philly. Then to close out week 4, we got Falcons going to Green Bay to play the Packers. Packers 5.5 point under or favorites. 5.5 point favorites. I mean, twice in the last 2 weeks, the Falcons have gotten big leads only to let them up. And I wonder if Dan Quinn is playing for his, or is fighting for his job right now in this game. The Packers have just been on a stellar run start. So I'm going to go with the Packers to win this 30-28 over Falcons. Okay. All right, so those are my predictions for week 4. Holy crap, over an hour and 20 minutes. But that was a lot to go over for this week in sports, for sports overview topics. So, okay, that was the episode. So, thank you all for joining me. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'll be back Thursday with your AEW Dynamite review. So, thank you all. Love you all, and I'll see you on Thursday.